Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Today, we're going to react to this eye-opening testimony of a ex-former undercover FBI agent who spent years stopping mass shootings before they happen. He explains why America has become the global leader in mass shootings and why parents, communities, and policymakers are still missing the warning signs. So before we get into that, I do want to give you guys context of a lot of the mass shootings that we've been witnessing. Now, these two attackers over this past weekend, both of whom served in Iraq, as well as I, were not connected and they acted independently. So on Sunday of this past weekend, Thomas Jacob Sanford drove a pickup truck into a chapel of a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Block Township. After crashing the vehicle, he opened fire and set the building on fire. 4 people were killed and 8 others were injured. The suspect, 40 years old, and was a former Marine. And this is consistent because initially in my first video covering this, I didn't know if the second assailant had any former military background, and they have. And this kind of hits close to home because I was a Marine as well as a U.S. Army soldier. Also on this past Saturday, Nigel Max Edge opened fire with an AR-style rifle from a boat at the American Fish Company, a waterfront bar in Southport. Now, 3 people were killed and 5 were injured, unfortunately. And this suspect was as well a 40-year-old former Marine. Now, I've never really shared a lot of pictures or anything personal about myself here on Blacklogic. And some people have asked me, like, do you have any pictures? I don't know, maybe to verify some of the things I've been stating and some of my experience that I've had. So very quickly, not to exploit a lot of my compadres, a lot of my brothers and sisters in arms, not to do that, but just to show you very quickly, a lot of my Marine Corps pictures are very old, back from like 97, 99, kind of reveals how old I am. But nonetheless, I'll show you this very quickly. This is a group that I was a part of in the Army, usually around 5 or 6 people. I'll just give you that. And I'm usually the only Black guy in a lot of these pictures, depending on the unit or who I serve with. But again, this is a group of guys that I've did the Tough Mudder with, okay? This is before and after pictures of the Tough Mudder. I try to zoom in, but it won't allow me to. And also here's another picture of a group of us. If you notice the guy in the back, he's a white guy. The guy in front of him, this guy right here is Native American. This guy is white. She is Hispanic. And of course, again, I'm just laying out the races of things so you guys can have more context of possibly what I could have been doing. Now, I didn't want to show some other revealing pics of what I was doing. Now, this guy right here, good friend of mine, Sergeant Mom, I'm pretty sure he's already retired or out the military. I think he has like 3 Purple Hearts, okay? He has like 3 Purple Hearts. This guy in the back, Barrios, a good friend of mine. He's Mexican, he's white, I'm Black. Kind of reminds me of an old joke in the hood that we used to say, Black man, white man, Chinese man, no less. And last but not least, this is kind of something, a challenge that we were doing where we were inclining on this very steep mountain, but we had a rope and we had walkway. So it wasn't as hard as it looked, especially for guys in, really good shape who's been doing that things for years. So I just want to share that with you guys. Now, when it comes to the 2 shooters, the 2 assailants here, both former Marines, both served in Iraq. Again, they acted very independently. But I wanted to give you guys a premise of how this FBI agent is going to break down a lot of mass shootings here in America and why we have so many mass shootings. What I think is very, very important for us to note. This is what I've been speaking on for quite some time of all these mass shootings and what's simply the common denominator.
I appreciate you coming in. Look, at the end of the day, people could feel how they feel about law enforcement, about the FBI, but ultimately the work that you did stopped mass shootings.
Yes.
You talked about multiple instances where had you not intervened and had you not came in and busted these people.
Now, they was talking about stopping mass shooting. And the reason why I pause right there, because this actually matters. We argue about law enforcement, but undercover work has prevented bloodbaths. It shows how close America is week after week to another tragedy. We'll read about this in the headlines.
There would be just another tragedy in America's long history.
Yeah.
Another mass shooting, a synagogue shooting, a school shooting, a shooting at a rally, and so forth. Why do you think that America is so unique with so many mass shootings?
Now, that's the $1 billion question, in my opinion. Other countries have mental health problems just as well as America. They have poverty, they have crime, but only here does alienation meet easy access to AR-15s, and that's the American recipe for mass shooting, no less.
Well, I have a lot of friends in other countries where they have like the UK, and there's not really any weapons, not a lot of weapons. In America, we've got the Second Amendment. I don't see good law-abiding citizens wanting to turn in their weapons. I like the whole Constitution. I mean, I think enough to uphold the entire Constitution, not just part of it.
Why did he point that out? I uphold the entire Constitution, not just part of it. And he was referencing the Second Amendment because he just spoke about that. Like, yeah, law-abiding citizens are not going to give up their guns who are adhering to the Second Amendment, but I uphold the entire Constitution, not just the Second Amendment.
Very wise friend of mine, we were talking about it one day. I go, man, wow, what's changed? I mean, in the 80s and 90s, we all had guns. I had guns in my truck, whatever. We didn't go, the mass shootings didn't happen. Do you want to go down?
And he raised a really good point. I know that you guys probably tired of me pausing it, but I just want to give you guys a little more context here. He said guns were always here. What's the difference since the 80s? It's the culture. It's the ideology. We moved from gun ownership to gun obsession, fueled by politics and online radicalization and grievance culture. That is where we are today.
Down a rabbit hole of mental health, this, that, and the other. I think we need to take away the opportunity. That came from, like I was saying, a wise friend of mine who goes out and instructs and is a former police officer himself. If you take away that opportunity, then it cuts that down. But there's just so much going on. I mean,
what does he mean by opportunity? Opportunity is the variable in this. Remove access to high capacity clips, to war level gear, and you shrink the carnage. The Second Amendment was never written with drum mags and hate forums in mind. They wasn't thinking about Discord. They weren't thinking about Reddit. They wasn't thinking about 4chan. They weren't thinking about all these white supremacists or political or radicalogical. They wasn't thinking about all these things that could radicalize and create extremist groups and neo-Nazi groups in order to inflict harm on innocent people. And here's the thing. Majority of the time that people do hate crimes or political crimes, people who wasn't the intended target always seem to get hit.
When I do these interviews where I'm talking to people, I go, it's very cliche, but if you see something, say something. Look at the base. That dad, after his son got arrested, TMB, said, oh, I thought it was just a phase. A phase. So you got a 21-year-old son who can barely hold down a job. When he does odd jobs for you. Didn't even have a car for most of the time I knew him. And has a kit that he's building for Boogaloo Day. He's wearing the same plate carriers that the FBI wears. He has groups of people coming over all the time training on your land. And you heard the conversations. You walked down there and drank with us. And then you walk into his room, he has the skull of the goat that we killed and sacrificed at a pagan ritual, a white supremacy ritual at a hate camp. And he's got that skull. And on one side of the skull is the book Siege by James Mason, we already talked about.
Now, I want to point out some things here because this is chilling, in my opinion. Parents may see skulls. And here is the difference between white and black parents, okay? And I'm not trying to paint a broad brush when I'm referencing, but from what black people would like to believe, or maybe what they witness personally, how white parents are versus black parents. In a black household, children have no privacy. There is no stay out of my room, don't go through my things. No, I'm going through your book bag. I'm going through your drawer. I'm going through your closet. I'm going in your shoes. I'm shaking out your pockets. You have no privacy in our homes. Now, some people might say, well, that's why a lot of, black children want to leave the home at 18 and 19, get jobs and go out. And that's the reason why they leave the household a lot earlier than other cultures and other identities. But what black people see, and again, let me know if this is fictitious or this is true on some accounts, because we've seen this out in public, how white children, and I'm not talking about all white parents or all black parents or all white children or all black children, don't box me in. But what we see is that white children have privacy. If their door closed, the parents have to knock on the door and ask for permission to go in, or they can lock the door. No, there's no locks on my child's door. No, I will open your door whenever. I don't care if you're naked. I don't care, because we have all sons, so I definitely go in. But nonetheless, there is a difference of how certain parents give privacy and other parents do not. I wonder if Asians and Hispanics operate the same way. Do they operate like you have no privacy, like majority of black parents, I would like to believe? Or, well, let's give them a sense of independency and privacy that some white parents may do. I wonder if that is it, because as he stated, parents will see a skull. That's an indicator. They may see Nazi literature or may not even understand, because I go and read my son's book. Like, what is this book about? I didn't buy this book. Oh, I got that from the library, Dad. Oh, okay. And I'm looking through the book. Why are you taking tactical training? And they write it off as a phase. Oh, they're just going through a phase in their life. That's not a phase. That is what you call radicalization in real time. And the silence become complicity, because you don't want to actually get involved in what they're doing, and you should. They're your personal responsibility.
And on the other side is Mein Kampf by Hitler. You think that's a phase?
Yeah.
So I get it. In law enforcement, it happens all the time. You see, like my mom wouldn't agree. You know, I'll show you a video, and they go, "Oh, that's not my little Johnny. My little Johnny would never do that."
Man, please. My little Johnny, my little Tyrone, yes, they would. And that's why you have to nip those things in the bud, ladies and gentlemen. Because this now is America's blind spot when it comes to our children, no matter what race or demographic they fall from. Now, are there black mass shooters? Yes, but they're really minuscule. There's not that many as far as when it comes to the white demographic. And communities see the signs. They stockpiling weapons, violent ideology, obsession with hate symbols, but prefer comfort over confrontation. Stop trying to be friends and be comfortable with your children. It's okay to be confrontation, because sometimes, as we've seen, without it, that may cause lives.
We're going to have to start being a little bit better at reporting. When you see, because look at almost all of these shootings that have happened. Once you start doing the hot wash and start digging and scratching, there were signs all over the place, you know, but nobody reported it. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough spot. I don't know. I mean, we can look at demographics. You can say, okay, the most shootings have happened in the places in the United States that have the most strict gun laws. But some people may say, well, the rebuttal would be that those are very condensed areas, and it's not like you're in Montana where everybody's spread out. I don't know.
Well, look, if you look it up, the U.S. is number 10 on the murder per capita rate in terms of countries around the world.
Okay.
Jamaica is number 1, Ecuador, Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Bermuda, Mongolia, then United States. When you take a look at mass shootings, by far number 1.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely. And the FBI agent here like, oh, yeah, we're definitely number 1. Let that sink in. America is number 1 on a list that nobody wants to lead. Not just more shootings, but orders of magnitude more. This is what global shame looks like. Capacity, when we're talking about high capacity round clips, and when it comes to certain weapons like an AR-15, capacity equals body counts. It's not complicated. It's a single magazine that turns grievance into a massacre. That's why every shooter starts their shopping list with extended clips. Notice the profile: young, isolated, incels, socially alienated, but add in online radicalization, hate forms, extreme communities, and suddenly that loneliness becomes weaponized, does it not?
109 mass shootings versus France is at 6.
Yeah.
Germany 5, Canada 4. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
We really hold the crown for mass shootings in America, even on a per capita basis.
Big guns with a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can put 30 in a clip, you know, as long as you don't have a malfunction, you can get 30 off.
Yep. Well, Scott, appreciate you coming in. Really a lot of interesting perspectives in terms of what you're doing. And honestly, once again, thank you for some of the stuff that you've stopped, because there's definitely a lot of innocent people that had nothing to do with anything that could have gotten murdered because of some whack job, thinking they're going to trigger some revolution, which ultimately is not going to happen. Not in our lifetime.
No,
at all.
no.
You know, you're going to basically shoot a bunch of innocent people and go to prison for life.
Yeah. Unless you
or get killed by law enforcement.
Unless you believe it's the boogaloo and you're going to end up with your own ethno state. Yeah. I can tell you.
Good luck with that.
I know, right? I'll tell you. Well, I'd say that when I was in there. I was like,
you know, looking at this former FBI undercover agent, he fits the script. He has the voice, he has the hair, he has the size, he has the tattoos. I could easily think that he was a white supremacist, but he was trying to, again, eradicate white supremacy being undercover, but he had to look like them. He had to be them. He was actually friends with them. And we're going to do some other reaction, maybe one more reaction when it comes to neo-Nazi groups and how he infiltrated neo-Nazi groups and totally dismantled those groups and stopped a lot of attacks. These are the people who should be highlighted once they retire. These are the ones that should be glorified, the one who are doing the work. As he stated, he was really trying to get it out that they believe they're going to create some ethno state. That's not going to happen.
We're going to take over this area and it's going to be ours. Like, yeah, and I go, well, what about like the cops? Well, what about the National Guard? Well, I go, what about the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and Marines? I'm like, are they all just going to drop their web? But I'm doing it to kind of poke a hole in their theory, even though I'm playing that I'm one of them. But I can tell you the majority of what I saw, surprisingly young men, outcasts, social outcasts, can't blend, can't get along, can't find a partner, and most likely have been bullied. And they go into their room at night and they jump on that phone and they go onto that dark web and they see all kinds of stuff. And with AI now, they make stuff that looks real and it's not even real. So, but I think humans, I think it's kind of innate in us that we want to belong. There are those that say they're fine by themselves and want to sit in a room with nobody around.
Not really.
But not really. I know, right? We want to belong. And it's no different to me than like the cults or the gangs, cults of the 80s or the gangs in the 80s and 90s. You know, you got people telling you, you want to be a part of the brotherhood.
Really good point there that I definitely, want to point out about what people are now labeling as incels. They're usually lonely. They've been abused. These are different attributes that they may carry, but they're usually lonely. They're single. They may be going through depression or anxiety. And this whole feminist culture, I'm a bad bee being single, is it contributing to a lot of, young men, especially young white men, becoming incels and being radicalized and involved in a lot of these hate groups? A lot of these things are all contributing factors, what we see here today. And as he was stating in the video, this is the root, ladies and gentlemen. Mass shooters aren't born, they are recruited. They're not born, they're recruited. Whether it's gangs in the 90s, we had a lot of gang black culture in the 90s. Believe it or not, it's not as bad as it used to be back in the 90s. Then we had cults back in the 70s or the hate camps that we have today. The same formula applies. Offer belonging and then weaponize it. Come join our group. You'll have a group of buddies, group of friends, but the people at the top and a lot of these neo-Nazi, skinhead, and these hate groups that are anti-Jew, anti-Black, anti-Asian, anti-Hispanic, anti-this and anti-that, anti-government, anti-politics. They just want to inflict harm and pain and chaos on people. Who knows the cause? So many darn reasons. We have to do better, ladies and gentlemen. And believe me, it starts at the home. It really does start at the home, because if we don't start empowering and informing our children, they may be the next mass shooters.